the latest happenings and development across Nigeria and Africa at large, and particularly things that concerns each and every one of us as Nigerians. Well, today being the 28th in the month of April, just about a few days, and we will be calling it a wrap on the first month of the second quarter. A lot has been happening, particularly in the politician. A lot has been happening, and of course, many have the opinion that the speakership and the Senate should be on zoning, but within the course of the week, the APC leadership had met with Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the president-elect, to discuss ways forward. And information currently trending across media platform is that the president has not assented or given his approval for the senatorial seats to be zoned, but rather he has also said it should be given to a Christian from the southern part of the country to contest. How that will play out is something we all have to keep our fingers crossed and watch out as the politics play out for the incoming administration led by the president-elect Ahmed Bola Tinubu and the vice president-elect Shatima, who will be, of course, sworn into office on come May 29. Now, moving away from that, the other issue that is currently generating a lot of reactions from Nigerians has been the issue of over 5,500 stranded Nigerians in Sudan. Recall that war broke out in the country as a result of misunderstanding between two opposition leaders, and of course has led to over 400 plus people being killed and lots of foreign nationals being stranded in Sudan, including Nigerians. Within the course of the week, there has been the ability to broker a ceasefire deal for over 3 days was achieved by the US, and of course that led to a lot of other countries being able to airlift their nationals out of the country. And then as of this morning, an extension of that airlifting or ceasefire agreement was extended, giving people the opportunity to further airlift its nationals out of the war-torn country. Part of the reasons that Nigerians were, lashing out on the federal government was as a result of the fact that Nigerians were stranded, and while other countries were, making giant strides in airlifting their personals and their countrymen back to set the money set aside for the rescue mission of Nigerians, bringing them back to the country. Well, within the course of this morning, we saw video footage surfacing online across different social media platforms of the buses. Out of the 40 buses that the federal government had said it released 150 million naira to hire, and then of course bring Nigerians or ferry Nigerians from Sudan to Cairo, Egypt, where they will be airlifted back to Nigerian safety. We saw video footages of Nigerians claiming they were stuck on the road as a result of what the bus drivers and contractors say is non-payment of their stipulated fare charges. And this is a shocking revelation. If this is true, and this is indeed happening at this point in time, then it begs for the question as to whether or not there is a country called Nigeria, 400 people being killed, and then we're still playing politics, or it seems the Nigerian government is still playing politics, and people are still trying to siphon money when the lives of over 5,500 Nigerians are at stake. That is something that we'll have to holistically look at, and particularly with the income due to this statement by some Nigerians.
This journey, we have to go on several fighting. Can you imagine that we are stuck in this desert for 5 hours? Like we don't know the situation we have. We don't have water. Our money has finished. Can you imagine? And they said the vehicle drivers, they said they are not moving their bus. They said they are not moving their buses because they don't give them money. Which type of attitude is this one? Look at this one. We are stuck in desert. We don't have bus. We don't have anything. We don't have compass. Even now, our location. We're in an unknown environment with a very big danger.
Look at this place. All those guys are not nothing.
Why is Nigeria
What a time to be a Nigerian. What a time to live. What a time to look at the passport you carry and see that it's written boldly on the green, white, green color, Nigeria. Well, our heart goes out to Nigerians in Sudan, and of course, we are hoping that the people saddle with the responsibility of bringing home Abd Hati and those who are caught involved in any practice and might lead to their being stranded, prosecuted for such crimes. But moving away from that, the federal government also has spoken that a lot of Nigerians who are stranded in the country, Sudan, are not documented, and now that of all its citizens in that particular country. What do they do on a daily basis? That keeping records, keeping tracks of Nigerians has not been prioritized. Over time, we've heard stories of Nigerians being killed. We've heard the federal government coming to tell us they do not even have the total number of Nigerians in a particular country. And so we can have Nigerians travel outside the shores of the country. We can have Nigerian pastures without the government of the day, without the Nigerian government, without our foreign embassies being able to know who these persons are, let alone get to know their plight and what they are facing. Now, it doesn't matter in as much as we do not try to justify what is happening or why people sometimes illegally leave the shores of Nigeria to other countries. The fact that they are Nigerians, the fact that they can prove their state and local government of origin and their nationality should be a priority for Nigerians to first and foremost consider their safety in a situation like this when we're talking about the war currently ongoing in Sudan. While Pope Francis, the Roman Pontiff, has called for a permanent ceasefire, and other world leaders are speaking with the warring parties to ensure that this war is brought to a permanent end and there is a ceasefire, and of course the warring parties get to make peace, we are hoping that the federal government and all involved bring back our brothers and sisters from Sudan. Now, moving away from that, there's been a growing call and a growing need and, of course, reactions from Nigerians after the federal government announced it had begun the payment of the 40% salary increment. And, of course, the first reaction came from the medical field, where the medical practitioners and professionals argued they have been sidelined in the salary increment announced by the federal government. We saw pharmacists raising the concern, and after that we saw teachers from the colleges of education also raising the concern. Now, this is coming on the heels of the federal government telling us they are planning that, and the salary increment is as a result of plans for that they help Nigerians cushion the effect of the subsidy removal that was planned for the month of June. Well, heads up, people, the Nigerian federal government through the NEC had said the planned fuel subsidy removal should be suspended, the review, and of course looking into the different issues that would affect Nigeria in the event that fuel subsidy is being removed. This has been a back and forth argument from before the time of this present administration. If we take a mind back to 2015, we saw that the incoming administration, as that then now the present administration and will be going administration, had canvassed for Nigerians' votes on the promise of being able to stabilize fuel prices in Nigeria. But despite the amount of money paid consistently on a daily basis as fuel subsidies, Nigerians have had to spend over 400 naira at some point, and sometimes 500 to 600 naira to buy a liter of fuel. A lot of Nigerians are of the opinion that fuel subsidies should be scrapped, and others are of the opinion that it should be maintained so that many Nigerians do not get to suffer. I'd like to hear your thoughts within the course of this program, but within now we'll take a short pause. When we come back, I will be bringing you our guests who will be talking the different matters that has been raised today. Stay with us on Eye on Issues. We'll be right back.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian.
Some issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. Remain committed.
security,
Education, health,
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
One truth.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is Eye on Issues coming to you live on Spectrum Television, and you can join us live on StarTimes DTH Channel 421, and of course on Nikon's app free to air. And we'll be very much delighted to have your comments and contributions as to how you feel about the different issues that we will be looking at today. Joining me on set live in the studio on Eye on Issues is a journalist, Kim publisher, and of course a social media influencer, political affairs analyst, Victor Onamo. Welcome to Eye on Issues.
Good evening, Mr. Francis. Good to be here.
Good to have you join us. A lot has been happening in Nigeria right now, and first thing I'd like for us to react to, I'd like for you to react to, how do you feel knowing that at this point we still have Nigerians being stranded? As a matter of fact, the buses hired by the federal government stopped halfway into the journey, and the claim they say is they have not been paid.
Well, I say that it's a very regrettable situation. On the part of the bosses, let me come to the drivers. You don't go on such a journey. There's a war in Sudan, and people are fighting. You have undertaken to take people's life on trust, and halfway you abandon the people. That is very wrong. So, because what you would have asked that is that before you leave this place, you ought to have negotiated everything that has to do with payment. I saw the Director General, the essay to the Director General coming out to deny this morning that the buses drivers are not owed, irrespective of those live videos from the student, that nobody is being owed. But be as it may, we know it's a precarious situation, but what people should realize is that whatever job or services you are giving to the people, you should have that face, that human face. There should be humanity in any business you are doing. So having accepted to transport the people, there was no reason stopping them halfway. Okay, we stop them halfway and they are hot. Will that bring the money? I also listened to a Nigerian student union president in Sudan lamenting the activity. This is one thing we are waiting. This is one messianic point we are all waiting for, when Nigerians will begin to do things straight and right. Like the accusation coming in now that the money meant for the student are not properly utilized. That when this, according to the student, when they call the people in Nigeria, the Nigerian embassy, they will say they've given out all the money, about $400,000. For their evacuation, but then the students are saying they are not in contact with the management or the Sudanese embassy officials in Sudan, the Nigerian embassy official in Sudan, which is very wrong. So what happened is that when things like this come, Nigerians should stop trying to take advantage of situation, because what I'm trying to say in essence is that as it stands now, there are people who are now beginning to take advantage. Oh, this is my own opportunity to also cut the national cake and take away
at the expense of Nigerians' lives
of Nigerians. So this, because that is what, going by the report from, should be investigated by authority. The young man said it clearly. I watched on his sister television program this morning. that they have valid information that money, it's not as if government hasn't sent money. It is not unlike Nigerian government. They've responded swiftly, but what are the officials doing? And why are we even talking about? Because this is a problem we also have with our people, and that's why we find our people missing everywhere. No proper database for our people. You don't know if you are living everywhere in the world. But the situation where at this point here, we have about 5,000 Nigerians. We are working with 3,000 students. We are, those things, which mean at the end of the day, we realize that we do not even have an accurate statistics of Nigeria, accurate data of the Nigerian people living outside the country, which is very unfortunate.
Now, that's another area that we have to talk about. The federal government came out to speak and tell Nigerians that there are a lot of Nigerians who are not documented, who are also seeking to be evacuated back to the country. And it leads me to ask the question, how do we have a foreign embassy across the respective countries that we have a representative in, but we cannot account for our nationals in that country?
Well, it depends on migration. If you look at Sudan, Sudan is a typical the trans-Saharan trade route. Historically, you have had Nigerians moving freely, even before ECOWAS and even before OAU. People were moving, trading across the north from there. So some of them would have settled down there, and having settled down there, there's that tendency that they are lost there. Let me say they are lost.
They become citizens.
They become citizens of that place. So, when things like this happen, they've lived their life. It has become a normal place for them. When things like this happen, you definitely remember where you come from.
Okay, now let's look at the part of Nigerians. Let's assume for a benefit of the doubt that the federal government, the Nigerian embassy in Sudan, had issued directive for Nigerians to be documented.
Mr. Francis, the truth is this. You see, most of the people who migrated along that trans-Saharan trade route, most of them who are farmers, most of them who are into animal husbandry, most of them who are a lot of them are illiterate. A lot of them are illiterate. So how many of them do you have on the Nigerian WhatsApp platform? The question is this: before issue of documentation, this issue of documentation and not documentation is just starting now that we are having crisis. Over time, what were we doing? Why aren't our citizens documented? Why can't we know how many Nigerians are living in outside there, which means they've not been that relationship between the citizens and the embassy down there. Because if you have had that, if you have a number of people, let me tell you something. I was interfacing with a certain national from Asia, and in this, I think yesterday, he made it very clear. He was able to tell me. I asked her how many people from their country are in Nigeria. He told me in clear terms. I said, how did you know? He said, we have a WhatsApp group. We're all there. We must ensure once you leave, you must ensure that you are a member, you are on that platform. So if originally we had at least a trick, those who know those who are not there, we'll also bring them in. But it's about time we developed that platform where we know how many Nigerians are out there and how many are in here. So because what it has shown right now is that we are not even sure of how many Nigerians are in Sudan. And when that happens, how will you know somebody from a neighboring African country angling to come from Nigeria or claiming to be a Nigerian? How will you know? You can't differentiate somebody from Chad from a Nigerian. You can't differentiate somebody from Niger Republic. What if the only available opportunity for them is the Nigerian bus and they decide to be evacuated? At the end of the day, you now bring indirectly bring in another African immigrant to Nigeria, which is wrong.
Well, that's a very sad scenario that we find ourselves, but definitely
to do. You can go to school. How many Nigerians are schooling there? That is the easiest thing to do. What about the man that is not in the school? What about the man that went to Sudan to trade? What about the man that went to Sudan to farm? What about the man that went to Sudan? Maybe we can also know tourists are documented. But in all, every Nigerian, irrespective of status, should be known to government. That is what it means, should be known to government. So when the citizen is not known to the government, how does government provide welfare for the citizen? Okay,
so shortly before we allow this issue to rest, what will be your advice to the federal government and to Nigerian citizens, not just those in Sudan right now, but to other Nigerian citizens scattered across the different countries of the world?
Please, whatever happens, if you are outside the country for something legal, except you are there for something illegal. I advise Nigerians to stop illegal migration. Let your mind in people. Let people know your whereabouts. Don't hide your identity. Get registered. The Nigerian government should also be very deliberate in knowing how many people are living Nigerians. At least, even if it's not a perfect situation, we should be able to know at least 90% of the people, so that when situations like this arise, it will be quick to mobilizing others.
Definitely, that will help Nigeria to not let its countrymen down when situation arises, such as the one we're currently feeling and experiencing from Sudan. We have to take our minds back to the breakout of war between Russia and Ukraine. We saw the drama that unfolded with Nigerian students stranded in Ukraine, and some didn't even want to come back to Nigeria. Those were, for me, the most disheartening moment and the most sorry state for one to be called a Nigerian, when people would rather choose to die than return back to their country. And it poses a question as to why we so much desperately need a transformational kind of leadership that would change the landscape, change the narrative of things in Nigeria, which takes us to the second issue. Well, the presidential and National Assembly election had come and gone, and we've had the state elections and, of course, the state assembly elections. And now the battle for supremacy, the battle for who is going to be who is going to be appointed, who in what, at what point, is currently ongoing. And then part of the major lobbying in the politics currently playing out happens to be the Senate presidency. Now, we know that in the history of Nigeria, we've had a lot of Senate president and deputy Senate president from the Southwest region. And at this point in time, a lot of agitation are of the opinion that it should be zoned to the South, while others are saying it should be made open. Now, within the course of this week, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the president-elect, there have been some news information surfacing that the president-elect is not in support of any macro zoning, but I just said, let's throw it open to everybody from the South. How would you react to this?
Well, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a very big strategist, and going to be very realistic. I think in an ideal situation where the country is united behind a cause, in an ideal situation where the people are passionate about development, in an ideal situation where we don't have anything like the federal character subsisting, one will say, okay, let's throw it open. Look at one of the most experienced and intelligent senators, irrespective of where we come from. But already, Nigeria is already a structure such that political offices are shared. Now, in this case, the Senate president, issue of Senate president, if you look at all calculation, it should go to the South-South, by all calculation. Starting from it, let me not take us far back.
Okay, now you said it should go to the South-South.
Yeah.
How so, and what are your reasons for that?
What I mean is that in terms of merit, by number of voting cast in the last election, the South-South voted more for the president to emerge. Two, the South-South has never had a slot at the Senate president. In 1999, we had Evans Ewerem, succeeded by Chuba Okadibo, and that as a truth. And before then, the presidency in the First Republic, we had Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. We have also had the likes of Umezurike. So when you, in the House of Reps, so when you look at the entire scenario, you realize that the only zone that has not benefited from the Senate presidency is the South-South region. So if the party actually believes in zoning, because what we have seen, and we also have this a lot of controversy. What people are saying is the reason people are advancing asking for it to come to the Southeast is, to me, is blackmailing. Is blackmailing, because it will make people to, some people are saying that, look, for politics of inclusion, to put a stem to the agitation in the Southeast, it means the political office should be zoned, to the Southeast. If you zone the Senate president to the Southeast tomorrow, and because I want a position tomorrow, I'll begin agitation. I'll begin a very strong agitation, so that when it is time for allotment of political offices, one will be thrown to me because I'm a troublemaker. That is not what it should be. What people should look at is that who, on the first side, who should be the Senate president. And I tell you, on the very first side, the Senate presidency should come to the South-South, who has never produced the Senate president.
Okay.
Besides, if you also say it should come to the South too, The South already, in the South, you have the South-South, we have the Southwest, you have the Southeast. The Southwest have already taken the presidency. Then by merit, the the South-South voted more. And if you also go by those who are looking for these for these positions, you see, people always say, okay, go and bring results from your
past,
from your party. Go and bring your unit results. So if you have to give a unit result, a local government result, and number of votes cast, to be very, I think the APC had about is it 8,000 or thereabout, or 18,000 thereabout vote. I'm not very accurate. In the entire South, it met, sorry, in Abia State, they had 8,000 votes. That's, I don't want to situate it with those there. Now, in Akwa Ibom State here, they had about 164,000 votes. So if you are going by merit in terms of vote cast, then the Akwa Ibom State deserves to produce a Senate president from the South, because I think apart from, I don't see any other person from South agitating apart from the Akwa Ibom people. Then if you go to so what we're trying to say in essence is that by merit, in terms of structural merit, it should come to the South because we've not produced before. Okay. Then going also by merit of vote cast should also come to the South.
Okay, so you are one of those who are agitating for the Senate presidency to be zoned to the South-South region. Yes. Just like you were also on the part of fairness, equity, and justice for the presidency to be zoned to the Igbo people during the presidential election. But now there have been a lot of issues in a situation where this is thrown open, like we saw during the presidential primaries for both APC and PDP. How do you see this turning out?
Now, let me tell you one thing. If you go by parties that have ruled Nigeria, the only party that is for PDP, except in governorship election where they keep on sustaining Anambra State, they have keep grabbing Anambra State since 1999. So justice, so the APC do not hold that except in subsequent zoning, because the bulk of the APC built up from the Northwest and the Southwest. So the Northwest have taken their slot. So the Southwest today is taking its own slot. So if we're talking about, because this issue of zoning we are talking about is per political parties. What if Kwakwanso had won from NNPP? Will you be talking about, will you hold them accountable for zoning? If another people, those in Hope Democracy, if Peter Obi had won, will you hold anybody arrangement for zoning? Zoning is a product of the political party. The only thing we acknowledge as a form of zoning is the issue of federal character. And the issue of federal character at that level is always the North and the South. And also, I think the arrangement so far favors federal character. The zoning so far favors character. Again, there is one thing we don't always also know, that when people talk about zoning, they are talking about giving power to individuals. The agitation for zoning become very strong based on individual put across. That is a truth. You don't zone to the woods. You don't zone to iron. You zone this when the same party is zoned. It's a political office is zoned. It's zoned to an individual. So the party will always play that politics to favor this
concern. Let's, for one, look at the credentials of the former uncommon transformer, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, His Excellency Godswill Akpabio, former Minister of the Niger Delta Affairs, former Senate Minority Leader. And this one person over time has been said to be a man who understands the politics. Now, in your judgment as an analyst, would you say Akpabio has what it takes to become the #3 person in Nigeria?
No, he has everything it takes to become going by that. Akpabio is a lawyer, so on the angle of law and lawmaking, I don't think it's strange to it. The seat of the Senate president is more or a lot more an administrative position, because he's the chairman of the National Assembly. It requires somebody who has that clout, somebody who has that administrative intelligence, which I mean, I think he has. In terms of lawmaking, he was, I think, he's been in the minority. He was a minority leader in the Senate. So coming to join the majority, being on the majority seat now, I think he has that experience across both levels, both as a minority leader and coming into the Senate as a Senate president. Akpabio also, politics is about followership. He has a very huge followership. take it the offices becomes, then the more also open are people's problem to you, the problem of society to you. So in terms of qualification, those jostling for those offices are eminently qualified. But if I were to choose, because if I do, I will be accused of being sentimental. But then I must not stop to speak my mind for fear of being so accused. I think Akpabio is the right person.
So you are joining voice, because we know earlier within the course of the week, I think we saw the likes of Barrister Norfield Luke also speaking very strongly that people who have been elected should be given the opportunity to lead, and everything about litigation cases should be, put aside. He's also spoke about the fact that he believes strongly that the Senate presidency and Akpabio can fit in together and be able to save Nigeria and drive the narrative that Nigeria needs at this moment. And there's been a lot of concerns around that, but it's just for us, like you said, to wait and see how the politics is going to play out, and we'll be able to bring that to bear.
And this is the first time, to be very realistic, if he emerges Senate president, I think the first time we are going to have a true Democrat in power. Because you see, in 1999, when Obasanjo came in with his military background, a lot of things took place that way. And when he left, he had so much friction with the legislative arms, which culminated in the removal of about 5 times or 4 times impeachment of the Senate president. And when Jonathan and Yaradua came in, the man who was in charge of that affair at that particular time was now a military man who was now relating with the civilian at the executive level, David Mark. So David Mark also, in terms of organizational power and all that, but then don't leave it out. This issue of always hitting the gavel recklessly started from the time of David Mark. Whatever they do, they just stamp the gavel. You see, it wasn't like that during Okadik, but we had a very robust Senate, but the speaker is not impeached. The other one is impeached because he feels threatened. So at this point, Tinubu being a grassroots politician like Akpabio, I think if they fail to appreciate the problem of the people, then that will be utter wickedness. Because they have been in the grassroots, they've been very close to the people before ascending to that level. So they cannot come up to say they don't know the problem, that they were on the elitist platform where they were not close to the masses. So this challenge is up to them to deliver.
Okay, now you've raised another very valid concerns by Nigerians, particularly across the divide, and that is judging from what happened during the APC presidential elections. If we have to take a mind back, recall that Senator-elect Godswill Akpabio was one of those who stepped down for Ahmed Bola Tinubu as now the president-elect. Now, a lot of people are of the opinion that what we need as a country is not a rubber-stamp National Assembly, is not a rubber-stamp legislative body who cannot think and speak on behalf of the Nigerian people, but rather would do the biddings of the executive. Now, would you support this argument or against these kinds of arguments?
Well, the thing is that what is the bidding of the executive? The bidding of executive should be the reflection of what they pass out their manifestos. It is about time Nigerians held political officers responsible based on their manifestos. And thank God, this last election was not wrong without manifestos. All the political parties, the key front runners, had their manifestos. So our eyes should be on if they have delivered on the manifesto to the people. And that manifesto should form the bedrock of administration for the executive, not jumping. Because what we have in Nigeria, that's always tell people, look, we don't have political parties in terms of ideology in Nigeria. Otherwise, or welfareism. If you are coming to improve the economy, work on capital, develop more businessmen, we know you are a capitalist. If you are just coming for public service, serve the people, provide a better platform, you have a socialist theory. But in this case here, we only have a lot of mixed up. We have what will I call in economy, I don't know but I think you just have a mixed up of people, so many strange bedfellows coming together. Now, 2 agendas. Mr. Francis, what touched my heart these few days I've tried to look into the social media is that people are angling for position. People are not setting agenda. People are not saying what the government should do. What individual want, everybody want is, what position am I going to grab? I want to be SSG, I want to be minister, I want to be that has beclouded the people and their thinking. So I thank God for the media, and I think the media should go for its primary assignment, hold them responsible like we are doing right away. Because what we are seeing now, right now, is we are not seeing people going for what they can do. You see people angling for position. So in all, the Akpabio Senate presidency and Tinubu presidency ordinarily should mean well to the people of Nigeria because of their closeness. Not that we want a rubber stamp Senate presidency. If you do, it will also reflect on the people, and people should be wise. By if you go by the last election, I don't think anybody wants to tamper with emotions of Nigeria, because the people are becoming wiser. So we want a Senate president that will work for the interests of the people, not for the interests of the few. Just like we want a president who will work for Nigeria, not for just party men, not for his cabal, not for his family, not for his state, not for his region, but somebody who will look at Nigeria as one big family and treat as one. First of all, those who have been maltreated, like the people of the South, those whose resources have been used and taken advantage of, we should go back and tell the people, go back and serve the people well. Like what we have just seen, I just saw some, a lot of leaders have become very selfish. I just saw a new map, for instance, in Akwa Ibom State, emanating, moving people again, drawing a map, moving people, alleging that the people who are not on coastal line are on coastal line. Why are you doing that? Simply because probably the governor comes from that area and he wants the area to benefit from the PIA. That shouldn't be why we are leaders. We should be leaders for everybody. For instance, if you have a good industry around here, does it stop it to people from benefiting? Does it stop this place you are working here is situated in Ibiaku run? Does it stop other people from working here? Does it stop other people from coming in there? Some people from Urefa, people from Mbu, people from even outside Akwa Ibom State are coming here to work. So what I want is that we should leave that sectional approach to politics and situate in a particular place what is demanded of the government in that place. And look at the comparative and economic advantage of those areas. Their comparative advantages, they begin to invest there. If you know Ibiaku Rani is good at producing cassava, you make sure what you have here is a cassava plant. If you think people in Cross River State are good in producing fruit, I think there should be fruit factories and all that there. Let us treat people by what we find in that place, develop the people, look at what they are brought to the national table, give them the cake accordingly. And the people will be better off.
Well, definitely the issue of the Akwa Ibom map remapping project that is currently trending and having a lot of argument is one thing that we'll deal with extensively. We're still reaching out to the relevant authorities at the national level, so we have facts and figures very correct and accurate before we take that issue up. But if you just join us, this is Eye on Issues coming to you live on Spectrum Television. We're going a short break now. When we come back, the phone numbers will be on the screen in case you'd like to join us and give your thoughts on any of the issues that we've reached today. Stay with us.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian.
From issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
security,
education, health,
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Many thanks for joining, and of course this is Eye on Issue coming to you live on Spectrum Television. I have been having series of issues raised on today's edition, and my guest is none other than Victor Onomo, who is a journalist, publisher, social media influencer, and public affairs analyst. And of course, just before that break, we were looking at the political narrative currently playing out with lobbying within the political terrain for different respective appointive and elective position, particularly at the National Assembly, and a question of zoning. I would like to hear your thoughts with the phone number on your screen within the few minutes that we have to be here. But we're heading out to another issue that has generated a lot of reactions as far as the Nigerian society is concerned. Now, the planned subsidy removal has been up and on for a couple of years now. And early this year, the federal government told Nigerians that come June, the subsidy is going to be removed. Up until this morning, yesterday rather, when there's been a little bit change, when the NEC said the planned subsidy removal should be suspended pending the review of the implication that would have on Nigerians. Now, earlier in the week, we saw the federal government telling us that they have implemented the 40% salary. I'd like to get to hear you. The federal government is finally raising the salaries back, and some categories of civil servants are being left out.
Well, that is very unfortunate. If we are doing, we are increasing salary. If you have, I saw the implementation, and I think I reached out to a few people who confirmed that the salary scale is being implemented, but leaving out other people is really bad. But Mr. Francis, what I look out for in these countries, how we can develop, if you are practicing a capitalist economy, how can we develop the private sector to make a lot of people productive, then beat down on the number of civil servants? Because if you develop the private sector, especially the small and medium scale industry, you would have scaled down, you would have made a lot of people productive, then scaled down the number of civil servants. Because as it stands now, we have to tell ourselves the truth. Some people who go for the civil service go there to do nothing. They should employ. At the end of it, they become redundant or not useful to the system, not productive to the system. So what federal government should ensure, it will hold some implementation of the salary structure.
Now, a lot of people are saying that this might definitely lead to particularly another exodus, massive exodus of brain drain, particularly in the medical profession. And we've seen what has happened to Nigeria. If we have to compare our doctor-to-patient ratio, is in a sorry state.
Some hospitals do not even have doctors. You can go to some hospital throughout the week, you don't find the doctor. And if you don't pay the doctors well, the impact is that we'll never have a better facility. Because the kind of law creates a private hospital or clinic. So by so doing, you will now, because you see what we now have is that you go to some hospital owned by doctors, government doctors. There are more facilities than
the government hospital.
The government hospital. Then the question is that, where does the doctor have the money when he's serving the government? So we have also had allegation of people moving drugs meant for patients for their private use. So what we want to see is that we want to find a situation where doctors are properly paid, doctors are taken care of. Then there should also be that restriction on how they are run. The problem is not to stop them from going abroad. The problem is to pay them well and ensure they stay and work and they are properly monitored to do so. Doctors are not the only one. Currently, a lot of people who is being paid well in this country. Is it the teachers? They are not being paid well. So these are the things we should look into. And why are we having this problem? It's because we have unproductive civil service. Ordinarily, if the civil service was productive, it should be able to cater for itself without relying on the salary. And it makes, this monthly allocation issue too. Maybe we'll come back to that in another edition. We don't need lazy leaders again. We need creative leaders who will be productive, not people who just come in to sit and stay in their houses, wait for monthly allocation, then share it among the political class. This is not what we want to see. So government should we expect the incoming government in terms of salary, they should we don't want to see strike again.
And of course, like our guys Victor Noma said, Nigerians at this point are looking for the up and walking leader, from the presidency to the National Assembly to the state level to the state houses of assembly. We need leaders who think on their feet, leaders who feel the pulse of the Nigerian people and think through that pulse to be able to create the much needed desired solutions that will bring about transformational development across the length and breadth of Nigeria. My name is Francis Edet, and it's been a wonderful time being here with you on today's edition of Iron Issues. Till I come your way again next week, to enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.